He was stuck up. Like, he made it seem like Annabelle was the stuck up one. He was stuck up. Like, take the stick out, Whisper.
And welcome back to Romancing the Monsters. Well, actually, now that I think about it, there might be some people, because this is a series, you know, we're doing a read along, so this might be bringing in some new people. So welcome if this is the first Romancing the Monsters podcast episode that you've ever clicked on. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seth.
And today we are talking about Secrets of a Summer Night by Lisa Kleypas, the technically first book in the Wallflowers series. However, we started with, again, the magic, so you can go and check out that episode if you haven't already. But before we get started, I have heard that one of us has something to say about something that they started watching, so I don't know how else to, like, segue into it, you know?
Yeah. No, I just think it's really fitting for our podcast. I was watching a bit of Midnight Mass with my family, and that's like the new show on Netflix right now, but it won't be new when this comes out. But anyways, in the theme of Halloween, it was pretty interesting, and the thing I had to say about it is my sister's like, oh my gosh, Sephora, like, there's like this monster thing, like it's like the devil, he's so scary, and I'm like, I end up catching what it looks like, and like, because I was watching a few episodes, and I'm like, he's not scary at all.
Oh no. Or is he actually scary for normal people, and it's just because we are horny for monsters, so you're like not scary?
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and also maybe the context of it is kind of scary. But overall, I don't think this show is really like terrifying. I think it brings
I have no idea what it is.
So basically, it's about it's like a small town, and then there's like this pastor who like comes there, and he starts like preaching obviously like the word of God, and like it kind of resembles like very like it's cult like in what's going on, and like you kind of need to uncover what's actually happening in the town. Like there's a few people that like aren't taking, like they're not a part of the church, or like they're not buying what the pastor is selling, basically, and like it's just like up to them to figure out what was going on. And like once you figure out what's going on, you're like, oh, okay. And it's just like it was really insane. But the monster guy, I wouldn't say he's necessarily hot, but I wasn't terrified. I mean, like, he was there, he's great.
So you watched the whole thing?
I watched part of it.
So there's you didn't get no like jump scares? What you've watched so far?
There are jump scares.
Oh, there are? Okay.
There are, yeah. I'm really jumpy. I didn't realize how jumpy I was when I was watching a piece of it.
Would you recommend it to our listeners?
I think I would recommend for sure. And like if you're into like horror, like that's really prevalent in this series, as well as like maybe the debate of like religion, because I feel like it talks about like not only like religious people, they're like fanatics, they're like atheists, there's like even a Muslim guy in there as well that like kind of has to like deal with everything that's going on, and like him being like the lone Muslim male in this small town, and it like you get his perspective as well, and it's just like it's really interesting. Like it's a deeper debate on like religion and like just like what's going on in society under the lens of horror, I would say.
Yeah. So this episode is technically coming out on October 28th. So, you know, Halloween is right around the corner. If you're looking for something to watch, I guess maybe you can go and watch Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And enjoy a good looking monster. He's not good looking.
Yeah.
He's just like our type. I know our listeners would be like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Shut up. Before we actually jump into the episode, I just sometimes like to remind people at the beginning that if you are one of our listeners and you're not yet subscribed or following our podcast, and we've earned it, you know, like we've worked really hard. And if you feel like we've earned your subscription or your follow, please consider doing that. You can also go on Apple Podcast. You can leave a review on there. It just helps us a lot, just figure out what people like, and also it just helps the podcast, get out there and reach more people. So yeah, just a little reminder. Now, Secrets of a Summer Night, Lisa Kleypas. This book is about Simon Hunt and Annabelle. What's her last name?
Peyton.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you. the fact checker. So yeah, Seth, what is this book about? All
right, well, this book starts off 2 years ago where Annabelle meets Simon for the first time with her brother, actually. They didn't have enough funds to go see the show, and Simon decides to spot them and give them the money for it. But during that, Simon kisses Annabelle and then just leaves. And then Annabelle's like, what the heck? And then it cuts to 2 years later, and Annabelle is now considered like quote unquote a wallflower, meaning like she doesn't have any suitors and no one's asking her for dances. She has like zero prospects in the sense where she doesn't have a dowry. She doesn't have like literally any money, even to buy like proper clothes for herself. And obviously in the London ton, that's not something that's looked at, I guess, for a spouse. And yeah, she just has to, her father left a lot of debts for them as well that they need to get paid. And her mother's also in a bad predicament, so she's really like ready to get married ASAP. The bad predicament is, so basically her father had I say this lightly, a friend who comes and helps.
Not sure that's the right word. But
no,
sure.
I know. No, but like they say numerous times he was a friend of the father, so like I don't know what that entailed back in the past. He demands the mother to give him certain,
perform
things. And in exchange for him paying their bills. So Annabelle is aware of this and needs to get married ASAP. And there's always 3 other females that are just like hanging out by the chairs where the wallflowers sit. And so she's known them for 2 years, but she's never talked to them. So she decided, you know what, tonight's the night, and I'm just going to go talk to these 3 women. And we meet Lillian and Daisy Bowman. They're the American heiresses.
Iconic duo.
Yes.
Chaotic
and we also meet Evie, who
Evie
is like, she's really rich, but I guess people regard her a bit differently because she has a stutter and she's quite shy.
But also she has a terrible aunt.
Yeah, her aunt is disgusting and does not help her at all with her own like confidence and self-esteem. If anything, she tears down whatever she does have. Anyway, so these 4 girls come together and they agree amongst each other that they'll help the other find a spouse. So Annabelle, being the eldest, is the first one to find a husband, and she achieves this with the help of her 3 new friends, and they get started once they reach Hampshire. And that is at Westcliffe's end of season party, and she sets her sights on Lord Kendall. But someone else shows up, and his name is Simon Hunt, and we all know that Simon's been trying to ask her to dance for numerous balls, I guess, at numerous balls. And he kind of makes his...
Sorry.
What?
I was
balls?
late on that one.
You guys are like 5 years old.
Sorry, Seth. I'm sorry.
Anyways, Simon makes his intentions known from the get-go. He wants her as his mistress. Annabelle does not want that. She still wants to be a lady of society. And anyways, so things happen where, does she really want Lord Kendall, or does she maybe want what Simon offers?
Okay. How did you like this book, guys?
S, how did you like it? You've never read it before.
This is my first time reading it. I really liked it.
You did?
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah, I really liked it. Was this the guy that you said, Martin, said I was going to like, Simon?
Yeah, my theory is that either you're gonna like Simon Hunt the best or Matthew from book 4, Daisy's guy.
So he's pretty. I really did love Simon. He's pretty up there.
Yeah.
I loved Annabelle too, but I did feel like something was missing.
For her character, you mean, or for the book?
No, for like the whole
Okay.
the whole book, the story. I just felt like something was missing.
But you didn't figure out what it was.
No, I don't know if it's between like their relationship. I wanted something more out of it, or just out of this whole story. But it was good. It read pretty fast.
Definitely.
The ending got me, like the emotions of like the explosion
Really?
and all that. Like it did. There's a little pitter patter.
We'll get into the ending because I'm sure Seth has a lot to say about it.
Why? Hello, why me? Oh,
because guess who comes to save the day?
Oh god.
Well, you know what I did notice?
What?
She hasn't met my man yet.
No, at all.
He's been mysteriously gone so far.
Which I find
He's
it
been
interesting.
mentioned.
Which I find it interesting because, like, he's mentioned, I believe, in this book.
Who is
once.
he? Say his name.
Sebastian St. Vincent.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
St. Vincent.
Yeah. He's mentioned once. And then I was imagining M, and I'm like, she's probably so fangirling right now.
Oh, girl.
I
You
love
have
him
no idea.
too. Him and Westcliff are, like, literally, like,
Mm-hmm.
really, like, right beside each other.
I will say, my love for Westcliff has really grown the past few weeks. Like, ever since we read Devil in Disguise,
Yeah.
which you can also find on our page. That's the newest Lisa Kleypas book in her Ravenel series. I kind of rediscovered my love for him, you know? Like, I had forgotten about Westcliff, and he's quite present in this book, and he was obviously a little bit present in, again, The Magic, but now he's all grown up, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not that much of a time jump in between.
I mean, no, but,
the
like,
two
he was
books.
still, like, he wasn't Lord Westcliff at that point. It was his father. Now he's, like, Lord Westcliff.
Yeah.
You know?
No, he was by, like, I think the 12 years later, but I feel like by the end of, again, The Magic, Westcliff was, like, he had finally found himself. He finally found, like, you know, like, his family was important to him, and, like, I feel like he's finally sure of himself in that sense. So, like, yeah, it's kind of like a new Westcliff, but, like, the real Westcliff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this book? Anyways, we're not talking about Westcliff right now. But did I like the book?
You should be happy. Usually I'm the one being like, not yet, Seth.
I mean, like, I could talk about Westcliff for, like, hours.
Well, maybe in 2 weeks' time when we talk about It Happened One Autumn.
Yeah.
Then you can talk about him all you want. All right, what did you think of this book, Seth, upon your reread?
So this is my second time reading this book. I've only actually read it once, which was, I think, 2017. And then, so this is, like, my second time ever picking it up. And I liked it. I did. It's not my favorite. It never was my favorite Wallflowers book. But I liked it. It was good.
You gave it 5 stars. Makes me think that this is like one of your top favorites.
So, me being me, back in 2017, I was like, oh my gosh, this book is the shit. And, like, I loved it because I love Lisa Kleypas, and I think this was my first exposure to her. So, like, I just love her. But, like, if I were to go back and re-rate this, I don't even think I'd drop it because it's still really good, but it's not my favorite. But I still love it.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I can kind of, I can see what you mean, because when I read it the first time, I also gave it 5 stars, but I think it's because it was the first Wallflower book I had read, I was reading, so
Yeah.
I didn't know what would happen next, you know?
Mhm.
I didn't know the other characters as much, even though, like, I read the Hathaways first, and Westcliff and St. Vincent both appear in those books as well, but they're,
Yeah.
you know, older and wiser. I think because I hadn't read the other ones, I was
Yeah.
like, 5 stars, amazing, Lisa Kleypas, woo-hoo! It's a good book, like, listen, a less good Lisa Kleypas book is honestly some author's best book. I said it.
Yes. There you go.
But according to her standards, it's not my favorite. A lot of it has to do with the end for me, which is like, to me it's so interesting that you said the end really got to you and like you really liked it, because for me it's kind of the opposite. I'm like, I always feel like this book kind of should just end at 80%. But I do really like these characters, and I did do the audiobook this time around to like make it feel a little bit new, just because, 3 times, and I've said before on the podcast that I'm really not a rereader unless it's like fantasy. So I enjoyed it. It did make me, it brought back all the emotions that I wanted, and it just made me really excited to dive back into this world and with these characters, and I kind of jumped right into the next one. So
yeah, that's me too.
Yeah, no.
Can I just erase everything I just said and re-record this piece? So basically, I'm a liar.
You're a liar. We all know
that. When is she not a liar?
Yeah, right? When is she not lying to us?
Oh my god.
Keeping secrets. Canas.
You know what? I'm just gonna let my ghost take over at this point.
Yeah, do that. We want to talk to the ghosts, actually. They don't lie to us.
You're so mean.
So you've read this twice before?
Yes, I lied to myself as well as you guys. I've read this before. The first time I read it, I gave it a 3.5 stars. And then for some reason, when I read it back again, I gave it 5 stars. I don't know what happened there.
Sometimes it's just a question of what you were going through at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe the first time around it just wasn't hitting, and then the second time around it really hit.
Yeah.
And then the third time around it didn't hit again. Some books it happens.
Exactly. Or maybe, it's just my love for Lisa Kleypas is automatic 5 stars, I don't know at this point. Anyways, there you go.
Yeah, we are a little biased. Like, we have to say. We're not the most critical people when it comes to Lisa Kleypas, just because we love her stuff.
But who isn't biased is us, since, this is your
True.
first time reading her.
Newbie here.
True. Do you want to start this conversation, S? Where do you want to take us, since this is so new to you?
Can we start with, because I have a question, with with Westcliff and Annabelle, their history. They have something there, because listening to it, I think I might have missed something.
Westcliff and Annabelle?
Yes, because he thinks that she's like stuck up, like he has his certain like perception of her.
Yeah.
And I want to know what I feel like I'm screaming. Am I screaming? I feel like
You're screaming a little bit, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Got excited. Let me turn this down a little bit. So I want to know, did something more happen between them? Or what exactly happened between them? I feel like they only gave us like a little bit of it.
Do you remember anything, Seth? Because
I don't. I think it's just whatever was mentioned is what happened. So I don't think Westcliff likes the fakeness of like the women or the ladies of the ton. And like, I think Annabelle was like really giving him like fake, blushing lady of the ton.
like clearly trying to get a husband vibes, which he doesn't like.
And she also is like, looking for the moolah. She wants the money. So maybe that's something like he also didn't really like about her.
But also Seth has said numerous times on the podcast that he's like the Darcy of the series, and that's also something that Darcy would do, like just kind of dismiss people to begin with, and then slowly like realizing that there's more to them type of thing. Like they're not up to his standards. Of people he hangs out with.
But I love that it continues on in this book, and then he's judging her so harshly, and I love it in the sense where like he didn't feel like she was worthy of his bestie. I'm like, Westcliff.
But also, why is Simon his bestie? What about St. Vincent?
Well,
I thought they were besties.
I think that happens later on. I don't want to spoil it, but I feel like their friendship solidifies later on.
After the fact?
After a lot,
Capitalized
I would say.
the fact? If you know what I'm referring to. S shall find out.
Since we're speaking of Westcliff, we'll move on afterwards, obviously. But S, what were your impressions of him in this book? Because he's no longer like the big brother or like the protector of his sisters in this one.
At first I thought he was stuck up. Like he made it seem like Annabelle was the stuck up one. He was stuck up. Like, take the stick out, Westcliff.
They all are, to be fair. They all are.
Yeah. But I will say the first time I read Again the Magic, I had no interest and I had no interest in wanting to dive into his book.
Yeah.
After reading Again the Magic again, I'm like, okay, I'm interested.
Yeah.
And then I read this one, and I'm just like, he's such a stuck-up ass, but I'm interested. Like, I'm ready to dive into his book and find out more about him.
He is very stuck up, but he also, I just love the fact that you can always count on him. Like, if you have his good graces, like, if you are his friend, he's got your back, you know? Like nobody else in this series, I feel like.
So he's
you can always call
bestie,
upon
then.
Westcliff.
Exactly.
Well, kind of, you know, he's the rich bestie that you can just call upon if you ever need a little help with something or a scandal or something, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like it goes more than that, too. I just feel like he puts on this facade of being, like, very rigid and, like, very closed off from the world. But like you said, when you're in his inner circle, he's, like, he's the person you go to for advice as well. Like, I just feel like he's just, like, that person.
But also, we can talk about this when we talk about his book, but I also feel like even with his close friends, he doesn't necessarily open up. He's not a guy that opens up to just about anyone, including his friends.
Okay, yeah. I'm talking more of, like, where we are now, you know, in Devil in Disguise.
I'm getting ahead of myself, okay?
Yeah, okay, this is not Westcliff's book, okay? I love the man, but let's move on.
Isn't it, though?
But wait, one more thing, wait. Does everybody just go and kick it at his house? Like, is his house, like, the main kick it spot?
Yeah.
Yeah. His house comes up a lot in the Wallflower series. Like, we're always hanging out there.
Yeah, and even the Hathaways.
Yeah, true.
So he's that friend that was like, he has, like, the best house. Let's go to his and kick it.
Yeah, he got the best parties going.
So, actually, let's talk about the man of this book. Simon Hunt.
Yeah.
What do we think of Simon Hunt? Such a sexy name.
We love Simon
Lisa
Hunt.
Kleypas really knows how to pick a freaking name, doesn't she?
Yeah.
It's a good name.
How do we feel about the butcher's son, made?
He was hot. He was intense.
A millionaire. He was.
Yeah.
Huh?
He was.
He's arrogant.
Yeah.
He is arrogant. So I want to ask you about that. His introduction, you know, like we know right off the bat, you know, Annabelle is in a difficult situation. She needs the money. She needs to marry into money. And Simon Hunt, all swagger and arrogance, comes in and he's like, I just want you as my mistress. I don't care about marriage. I'm not interested.
Yeah, forget about being my wife.
You're gonna, and he's not asking. He's like, you will end up in a situation that's desperate enough that you will have no choice but to be in my bed eventually.
Exactly.
I think that's hot.
How do we feel about that?
We love the feelings we get when that was mentioned. I love a man that knows what he wants and he's gonna go after it and he's sure that it's gonna happen. I love that.
You love the assholes. That's what you
do. I really do. The arrogant assholes.
That is Simon to a T.
That is Simon. But also, I do like his progression because it's like he's so set like onto what he wants, but then like does a 180 real quick. He's like, never mind, actually, should we get married? We should get married, right?
But I honestly feel like looking at his character like deeper, I would say like he does start off arrogant, but I also feel like any other character, he's very multi-layered. And I also feel like from the get-go we see that caring side of him, but like it's muted up until the point where like, you know, she gets bitten by the snake and like he buys her the boots and he's like constantly checking up on her, and like at that point he still wants her as his mistress and like that hasn't changed, and then he's just like so caring towards her.
I do love that Lisa Kleypas doesn't drag the whole I want you as my mistress plot, because he does say it in the beginning, but like you said, slowly he starts, you know, caring and like doing things for her and making sure she's okay and everything. And as soon as he's got the opportunity to turn the question to, do you want to marry me? He does, you know, he's not still holding on to the like, no, you should be just my mistress actually because I don't commit type of thing. You know, like he's not, he doesn't have that issue. Yeah.
Which begs the question, do you think he only went the mistress route the first time, like at the beginning of the story, because in his mind he never thought that he would get her to marry him?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I do think that Simon, he doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere. He doesn't belong with the rich people of the ton, obviously, because he's not titled, but also he doesn't quite feel like he belongs with his family anymore because, you know, he's elevated in society now because of, you know, his money. So he does mention that he just doesn't belong anywhere, and I don't know if deep down part of it is like him not wanting to bring Annabelle into that sort of feeling of in between and like not knowing where you fit, and like understanding that whatever party you're going to, whether it's with his family or with the people of the ton, you're always going to be an outsider if you're married to me. Whereas now Annabelle is poor, she's in a difficult situation, but people don't yet close their doors in her face. And if
because
she marries
still
Simon,
has
it's a possibility.
Blood.
Yeah, the only reason why they get invited anywhere after they get married is because of Westcliff. Let's be real. It's because of their friendship with Westcliff. Otherwise, they wouldn't be going to all these parties. How do you feel about Annabelle then? As kind of said a little bit. Right?
Did I?
I don't know. I feel like you did say that you kind of liked her. I think
I liked her. I don't think she was a bad character.
Seth had some things to say about Annabelle, so now's the time, girl.
I know. I'm getting into it.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, I started this book, and then again, so it's my third time reading it. So for this podcast, I was reading it, and I just couldn't get behind her character in the sense where I just didn't like her constant judgments and like her constant like talking downs to Simon. And this even like happens, like one instance that this happens is like when they're playing chess, or he's teaching her how to play chess, and then he's like, my father taught me, and then Annabelle's like, wait, you're like, your dad, that's a butcher? And like just the way that she talks about him, and I think it's like due to like her upbringing and like what she's taught as like a child up until now in terms of like what the working class is like. And like, but you see her change and her progression and like the way like she changes her outlook on life, which I think was obviously on purpose. Like her starting off as very closed off, judgmental on like Simon and his family and like where he comes from, and then by the end of it she's a part of it now and she learns to see it differently.
I did pick up on it after Seth told me, because we recorded what did we the love hypothesis. And she briefly mentioned that she was feeling that way, and I was like, oh, interesting, I wasn't feeling that way. And then ever since she said that, I kind of finished the book and I was like, oh yeah, never mind, like actually now I'm noticing little things. But I actually think it's a larger problem, and I love that Lisa Kleypas did put that into the book, because the larger problem is, and we've talked about this before, just how everyone, but mostly women, are kept innocent and unaware of anything outside of the ton and their own people. So obviously she's never been confronted with people like Simon before.
Of course.
You know, she doesn't know how how his people are, like, you know, what their lives might look like, what their upbringing might look like. Like, she has no idea. So I think, like, yes, it's Annabelle, but I think the bigger problem or the bigger issue is just society in general and how women were raised, especially women of the ton and stuff. Like,
agreed.
They weren't educated, you know. They were taught how to be wives, how to be mothers, and that's about it.
It's always society.
I know, right? And it's like, it's not even just like the women in general. I feel like obviously the men are more out there in the world at this time. They're like in parliament, they're like doing all these things, but like they just fail to see the other side of society. And like they just, majority of them, like obviously not Westcliff, they don't acknowledge the working side, or like even if like you build yourself up from the bottom up and like you are rich enough to be at these parties and all of the stuff, they still think they're superior because of their noble blood, like they're related to royalty in a sense, you know. So I don't know. And even goes like deeper in the sense where like her mother as well, after she got married to Simon, she was judging his own mother, and then Annabelle calls her out.
And then they finish off best friends.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that like Annabelle judges her, but then Jeremy reminds her. He's like, you know, you were kind of like that a few months ago.
But Simon's family judges them as well.
Yeah, that's what I noticed, that when they were gonna go off together, it seemed
Yeah.
like his side of the family was gonna be like judgy.
Yeah, they were. They weren't even talking at dinner, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can just
Yeah.
imagine how awkward it was.
It's just insane to me how Annabelle, just because she's titled, she can be wearing like rags and still be seen as better than Simon, who is just not someone of the ton, but hella rich and probably like, you know, wearing all the things rich people wear, and
Yeah.
yet he's like lesser than. Like, it's mind-boggling to me.
I
But
agree. And like you said, it's just like the toxicity in society that brings that out.
all right, I want us to talk about the heart of this series, because yes, it is a series of romance novels, but at the heart of it is friendship between
Yeah.
4 women who decide to come together to help each other out. No animosity whatsoever. They are there for each other to find love. How did you feel about like the whole pact thing, you know, like the friendship pact that they, you know, promised that they make each other? Like, how do you feel about, especially US,
Yeah.
because it, you know, was your first time? How did you like the whole, like, how the Wallflowers came to be?
Yeah, I really loved it. I love in books where there's like a friendship form, like there's a bond between girls, where they give each other advice, they help each other out, they give one of their friends a dress for them to wear. So that's one thing that I really loved about this book, between all 4 girls.
No, I was gonna say, like, this is like your first encounter with the Wallflowers. Like, you know why the series is now called the Wallflowers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I loved their friendship. They're beyond cute, and like, I guess one can argue that their friendship happened really quickly. It was over one conversation, but I just feel like they have so many things bringing them together, and they have so many things in common that it just makes sense.
They were kind of already hovering around each other anyway.
Yeah.
Like, the ton is a very, very small circle of people, like a very small group of people. So they probably already knew each other, just hadn't like spoken to each other. I just love that it's like they're all looking for a love match, but love match. They're all looking to get married. It's gonna turn out to be a love match for each and every one of them, but I just love that from the start, it's not about a competition. It's about helping each other find the best match possible. I was going to say something and I completely forgot. Oh, however, not to pit them against each other, but I'm just curious to know who you're most interested in out of the Wallflowers. Like, whose story are you most looking forward to? Well, okay, I guess besides Annabelle, because, you know, you've read it now. Is it shy, stuttering Evie? Is it bold and boisterous? Boisterous, is that the word?
Yeah.
Lillian? Is it, you know,
Cute
bookworm Daisy?
Lily is the one that is gonna end up with Westcliff, right? She's the one that kind of talks back to him.
Yeah.
So it would be her, which would be the next book.
Can I just say, her like one-liners in this book had me rolling. She's
in
just so
every
funny.
book, though.
I know.
She's just great.
But I just forget how much of a presence she has in the first book, as well as like obviously the other ones. But like, she's just so funny, and I love how Daisy's there as like her calmer counterpart.
Well, is Daisy her calmer counterpart? I feel like Daisy just goes along with it, and she's like, "Heck yeah, let's play Rounders in her
That's
Knickers."
also true. But she's the more calmer of the two, until like Lillian instigates her, you know, and like gets her going.
True. So speaking of Lillian, you know, creating chaos. How did you like the scene of them playing rounders in their knickers in, you know, the forest, out in the open, and Westcliff and Simon just stumbling upon them?
I thought that was funny. It was a funny scene.
Yeah, I love how Westcliff is like so furious at Lillian, but then like the narration keeps like reminding us there's another Bowman sister, but like he's only noticing one.
Yeah, no, it was Simon, because Simon's like, you know, there was another one. The other one was there too, and he's like, no, I knew it was Lillian. Lillian did this. I'm like, shut up. But no, okay. So the Rounders game, I kind of looked at it like a bit differently. Like I love that scene and I thought it was like so funny, but I feel like deeper I looked at it more of like I don't know, I just felt like it was so freeing in the sense where like it showed them taking off their clothes, and I feel like that could be seen like as the restraints of society because they're all like very like stressed about finding this husband and like stressed about finding their place in society, and like there's this one time where they can be themselves and like, you know, just like play with amongst each other and just like forget about all of that. And I just felt like it was such a, I don't know, like a show of sisterhood and like friendship, and like it was just like perfect. I loved how it was done. And obviously, yes, Westcliff and Simon, they're great, they're funny, but I just love the moment of them playing. I just thought it was great.
Yeah, because it is sad, like, that they're not allowed to do that.
No.
Something as simple as just wanting to play games and their clothes being, you know, unfit to play that game, so they take them off, and like something as simple as that is like, oh my god, how dare you, this is scandalous. But also I just love the line where Lillian is like all frustrated that Westcliff found them, and like Westcliff basically tells Westcliff that like he has no business on his own land type of thing. It's like, what the hell? I own this place.
That's great. So I have a question. If you girls were to live during this time, do you think you'd be able to handle like all the rules, and you need to keep your clothes on and not play games in your knickers?
I would be mad about not having pants, you know, like at least being able to wear sweats, you know, or leggings. Yeah. I would not like that.
T-shirts.
And also, I feel like women don't really have an agency in this time. Like, they belong to their husband, or like before that they belong to like their father.
I think what's fun about it is the romanticization. Romanticization, is that even a word? Of it. You know, it's like taking these crazy ass rules from another time and making them fun, but it most likely was not very fun for those people back then. So my answer is yes, only if I'm living in a historical romance novel.
Yes, copy and paste, that is my answer as well.
Same.
Okay, can we talk about what's his name? His fucking face. What's his face?
Hodgeham?
Hodgeham.
Was that
Can
his
we
name?
talk about Hodgeham or whatever? No, that's not his name. Is it?
The villain, the bad guy.
Hodgeham. Yeah, okay, I wrote it down. You're right.
I was right.
We've read this book 3 times. Can't tell you the name of anyone. Can we talk about Hodgeham and that whole thing?
Sure.
I just think he's disgusting. He's old. He should die. I just hate. I feel such empathy. I know this is like fictional characters, but I feel such empathy for Annabelle and her mother being put in a situation that is so desperate, and as women there's literally nothing else that they can do than try to sell themselves, whether it's Annabelle's way through marriage or it's her mother's way with her body and disgracing herself and, you know, feeling crappy about it. Because like Annabelle, even her, she's like, well, there might come a point where I have to, you know, forget about my honor and just
be a mistress,
accept his offer, accept what he's got to offer, because he's got money, and at this point we will be starving. And you know, they are hiding the truth from her little brother, who's off at school. How did you feel about that whole situation?
There was a second where I thought the mom was going to allow Annabelle be involved with Hodgeham or whatever his name is. There was a moment where I thought like she was like so far gone, like she was like out of it, where she was just gonna be like, okay, well, do it, take over for me. Which I'm kind of glad that didn't happen.
No, her mom was great. What happened to her was really tragic, and like I don't know, the way Lisa Kleypas writes it is like you feel her energy draining. Yeah. And it's just like, her situation, obviously, like Marge said, is not at all like in her favor, and she does not want it, but she has no other choice. And like, also, let's also acknowledge that he probably isn't the best lover in bed as well.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's nothing positive about what's happening here, obviously.
No, it's not like a loving relationship between a mistress and her
No.
guy. Like, this is
him taking advantage.
It feels awful.
He
exactly.
looks and takes advantage of people in need, and that's like, he finds power in that, and he takes advantage to like the nth degree. And he even tried to do it with Annabelle when she was sick. She couldn't even get up from the chair, and he was literally gonna rape her or whatever on the chair as she's sitting. If her mom didn't come in and sadly, you know, take him into the room, then who knows what would have happened.
There's a very short scene that I find incredibly sad. It's after her mother has had to do things with Hodgeham, you know, and she just came back to the room, and Annabelle is like, do you want time to yourself? That, you know, it's such a short moment because Annabelle leaves her mom to be, but just what it implies, you know, like the weight of it, that like, yes, her mother needs time to herself to like process her emotion and like her trauma to a certain degree. Like, it's traumatic to have to sell your body like that for, you know, I'm sure she's a proud woman who this is not like a job, you know, she didn't choose this as like a job. She's forced into this position to lower herself to this man, disgusting ass man. And I just, there's such weight to that moment for me personally, and I just think it's an important choice that Lisa Kleypas made here because we've read a lot of books, well, a lot, but a lot of the HR books that we've read for the podcast to date have had situations where it's like, oh, the girl has to find a husband because her family is in like a dire situation, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you guys remember, but we've often talked about like, where the fuck is the mother? What is she doing? Why is she not doing anything? Why is this all falling upon the daughter's shoulders? And I think this book begins that way. You're like, why is Annabelle, like, why is it all up to her, blah blah blah. But I actually think we get the mother's perspective a little bit here, where it's like the mother feels the weight of having to send her child out in the world and be like, you are our only hope. And also what the mother is doing behind the scenes to keep her family afloat, you know, like not have them completely drown in debt, you know, like I just like that it's subtle, you know, it doesn't take over the whole story, but it's there and you see it, and I think it's something that you see here that you don't necessarily see in other books.
And I did like, by the end of the story, we have Annabelle's mother actually, like, you know, fight back and, like, actually be like, you know, enough's enough. And she literally stabs him with the scissors. And obviously she assumes that she killed him, but we'll find out later on that obviously that didn't happen. But I love that she had that, you know, that chance to hurt her abuser and, like, actually get him to stop.
Yeah. He should have died.
I know, right?
He should have
died.
All right. Can we go back to the romance of this book and talk about certain scenes? Starting from the beginning. So we talked about his introduction, him being all, like, arrogant and being like, you'll be my mistress, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Moving to the scene when they're walking in the forest and the guy that she's after, Kendall, is being like harassed by this mob of women. He's like telling them about mushrooms and
flora and fauna.
Yes.
And then one girl's like, ooh, tell me more.
And Annabelle and Simon kind of find themselves at the back, kind of by themselves walking. And how did you like that scene? First off, do you want to explain what happens, Steph, and then say what you thought
I feel like you set it up. They end up finding themselves alone. Her mother's also, like, moved ahead to listen to Lord Kendall. And she feels like a little, like, prick on her foot, and then obviously Simon's like, oh, let me check, and he raises her skirt up and sees her legs gasp scandal. And yeah, I feel like that scene was very like, it showed her comfortable nature with Simon. I feel like it happened before she even recognized she was comfortable with him.
But then afterwards, when she got sick, and he was gonna lift her skirts to look at her ankles, now she's all like, ooh, don't.
Because I don't even think she was wearing stockings at that point.
But I love how she thinks of these, like, ideas, because it's like, okay, so Annabelle doesn't have a whole lot of money. She doesn't have the proper, walking shoes or walking boots, I guess. And so she gets stung or bitten by a snake. I just, how do you come up with these things, Lisa Kleypas? Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like everything makes sense, you know?
It provides for, like, great angst and, like, great, like, frustration for Simon, because, like, he's, like, struggling to get her, situated and, like, make sure she's okay, cuts her corset strings and, like, wants her to breathe, and, like, he's stressing over fussing. Her. That's great. Yeah. I love it.
He becomes like a mother hen at that point. Yeah. He's like, ain't nobody gonna drag me out of this room.
I know. No, he didn't become a mother hen. He became her daddy.
A possessive alpha daddy. Yes, sure.
Guys, okay, we're going to hell. Let's just stop.
I'll see you all there.
Yes, we're going to hell. It's fine.
It's okay.
Obviously, another, like, huge scene for them is, which I love because it's so funny. Annabelle gets really desperate at a certain point, and then she, comes up with a whole scheme to try and trick Kendall into a marriage, like having to propose to her. So they created this whole, like, scandal. They're gonna be with is it Lillian and Daisy's mother, and also Westcliff, which I just love how Westcliff got somehow dragged into all this.
How did he? Because I remember in that scene, he was yelling at Lillian. He's like, so this is why you wanted us all to come and go for a walk. Yeah. Why did he agree to go on a walk with Lillian?
Right? Like, how did they manage that? Annabelle is supposed to bring Kendall to, like, a certain place, a spot that they determined together, and then the others are supposed to walk upon them as they're, like, kissing out. They're alone outside and, like, kissing or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then Annabelle, she brings him to the spot, and then, like, he either is about to propose or literally proposes, and she freaks out. She's like...
He tries to kiss her.
Yeah, so she's like, never mind, actually, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So she leaves, and she stumbles upon Simon instead, who, like, what were you doing out there, Simon? But okay.
He was fine behind a bush.
His broody self was taking a walk at midnight, as one does. And the others arrive, and obviously instead of stumbling upon her and Kendall, they stumble upon her and Simon. But at that point, Simon has already proposed to her, and she's already agreed. So what I actually love about this scene is he's like, no, we're actually going to create a scandal because I need insurance.
Yeah. No, and it was funny because Westcliff and Lillian, and I forgot who else, were like, hey, you know what?
Everyone's turn over
an eye. This didn't happen. You guys just go inside. We didn't see anything. And then Simon's like, no, this is not okay. I'm going to go to, like, the ball, and I'm going to, like, scandalize everyone there and compromise you in front of everyone. And, like, Westcliff's like, oh my gosh, if you want to compromise her so much, fine. She's compromised.
I just love how Westcliff is the king of amnesia. He's like, I'm just gonna have amnesia in about 5 minutes time. Just letting you all know. But then, yeah, because you're right. Like, Simon is like, no, you did see this. And Westcliff's like, no, I didn't see shit. And she's like, no, you did see this. And he, like, brings her into the ballroom, and he's like, do I have to fucking kiss you in front of everyone to have my insurance here? Like, I'll do it. I'll create a scandal. I don't care. So I love how she kind of twisted that trope on its back, because it's like, you expect for it to end up in a scandal, but, like, it doesn't.
That was a great scene. So that's what I love about Simon, that he goes after what he wants, and he's gonna make sure that they're gonna end up together, scandal and all.
He's such a businessman. He wants to have his receipts, like, he wants to make sure that Annabelle, he doesn't just want to take her word for it that she'll marry him. He wants to ensure there's proof, there's, really solid evidence, and also receipts that she is compromised, she will marry him. I love it. I love Simon. He's so funny.
So they get married, and then comes the wedding night.
Yes.
Let's talk about sex, y'all. How did you feel about it?
It was hot.
I kind of don't. It wasn't memorable.
It wasn't memorable. I will agree.
I feel like it was very tame.
I mean, like, I think it was very, like, vanilla.
There's one scene where they're married, they're happy and blissful, and then I think she's playing card with some ladies, and Simon arrives and he's like, you got 5 minutes to finish this thing or I'm ravishing you, like, on the spot.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then, like, she's basically running down the corridor, like, trying to make it back to her room in time, and he's, like, basically behind her, like, hunting her down, like,
I know.
we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
And they end up in, like, a closet, and I hate how little we get of that scene, because I was like, give me the whole scene, Lisa Kleypas. Like, it's so short. I was feeling that one more so than the wedding night, but then we get nothing.
I feel like the wedding night was more so, like, I don't know. It started off with him assuming she's had sex before, and then once he finds out that she actually wasn't Hodgham's mistress at all, he's kind of like, shit, what do I do now? Like, I've built up all these ideas in my head, and, like, now, like, I'm faced with this person that, like, I don't know, like, do you know how sex works? Do you know how this and this works? And then, like, they had a conversation beforehand, which I really appreciated on Simon's part, because, like, he wanted to make sure they were on the same page, and then the sex happened. So I can see why
Which is not true of every historical romance hero.
Exactly.
Especially Lisa Kleypas. So, you know.
So I could see why it might not be as memorable for, like, other sex scenes that might have happened, because I feel like the intensity wasn't there from the beginning.
I do feel like, I will say, you know, when you read a lot of romance, a lot of sex scenes can start to blur with one another. And when you're an author like Lisa Kleypas, who has so many books, it's like, how many times can you write a wedding night scene that's, like, interesting, or, like, a first time that's interesting? Yeah. And I will say, I think she tries her best, and there's a lot of first times in her books that I actually vividly remember. This is not one of them, but, like, she's got a lot of good ones. So, you know, she tries to make them interesting.
She does.
So, we get to the ending. And this is the part who, like, personally, I always feel when reading this book that it could kind of just end after they get married. Yeah. Personal preferences. I just feel like the book, for me, loses its steam, if you will.
Oh, can I mention?
Pun not intended. Yeah.
Can I mention, I think it happens before what goes down at the end. But there was a scene where she overhears the dad and Simon talking. Mom. No, wasn't it the dad?
Was it?
I thought it was.
It is the dad. Yeah, I think it's the dad. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And he's just kind of like, "Why are you marrying her?" or something like that. Like, they have a certain conversation she overhears, and I thought that was gonna cause some type of, like, problems, drama between them. Which I'll say, it wasn't. I was expecting drama, but I'm glad that it didn't happen. But so I think that's what I felt like was missing, like, something, because I was expecting it, but we didn't need it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think, looking back on that, I think it's a subtle way, maybe, of showing how Annabelle trusts Simon, and she trusts how he feels about her, if that makes sense, and vice versa. I think she hears their opinion, and I think obviously she comes from a place where she had that opinion about them to begin with, and now, you know, she's changed her mind more or less. So I wonder if it was, like, a subtle way of being like, yeah, she heard it, she knows that that's how they feel, but she's aware that that's not how Simon feels. And that's all that matters, maybe.
I also see it in the sense where she heard what was being said, and she kind of took it in herself, and she's like, what am I bringing to this marriage? Because, like, obviously a marriage in the middle class would be kind of different than that in, like, the upper class, in the sense where like they're both working partners and like they both bring something to the table. And like that kind of causes like a doubt in Annabelle. Like I wouldn't necessarily say like she's for sure certain about how Simon feels, and Simon's for sure certain about what she feels at that point. And I think it does cause like this doubt within her, and it just like continues to grow and grow as situations arise in terms of Simon and Annabelle and like what they think this relationship is between them.
Which maybe is why she wants to go visit his foundry. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? Maybe because she's like aware that there's a huge part of his life that she's not very aware of or knowledgeable about, which makes sense. She's a woman. It's kind of assumed that a wife doesn't want to know what her husband does for a living. But maybe that's what pushes her to want to go out there and learn about it and like see for herself what he does and like what he's working on and what he's achieved, through the years. So she does. They go to the foundry, and it's mentioned that Westcliff is there off somewhere, but he's not like, where he's supposed to be at. And then something happens.
Sorry, guys, that was my water bottle. Continue.
She's providing sound effect for the foundry.
Yeah, that was the explosion. It was also my ghosts. They took over.
Something explodes. There's a big fire. Everything's like the building's about to crumble down. So Annabelle is brought outside of the foundry by Simon. He's literally like dragging her out, and then she turns around. He goes back in to save, his workers as much as he can. And then like she turns around and he's not there anymore, and like she waits and he's not coming back, and she's like, what the hell? She asks one of the guys that's there, like, are you not gonna do anything? Like, he's not here. And he's like, well, he probably will not make it out. And she's like, well, fuck that. I'm gonna run in. So she runs in. She finds him. He's like stuck under something. Like his leg is like stuck under a pillar or something. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. How dare you be here right now?
Yeah.
I love how feral he gets in that scene. Same. And she's trying to, for a moment she like she takes his knife and she like considers like literally sawing his leg off.
I love that. I was dying because like it just proves like how desperate she is in that moment. She's like, you know what, I can cut a leg off. I know I can at that instant.
and Simon is like, don't do it, it won't help.
Because you can't carry me out anyway.
Yeah. And then who comes in to save the day?
My husband.
Westcliff appears like a knight in shining armor. He's like lifting things and helping her drag Simon out of there, and everyone's coughing up a storm, and everyone's safe. There's like a brief mention that like someone died. Unfortunately, I felt bad for that worker.
Yeah.
It was a bad day at work.
Why are you laughing?
Cruel.
People died.
I know. I got the giggles now.
That's horrible.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to that man.
It's okay. They're fictional characters, but still.
Nobody died for real. And yeah, Westcliff is like, all right, I'm bringing you both back to my house in London. So, you know, he's got a lot of houses.
Not before Westcliff's like, you know what? I changed my opinion of you, Annabelle.
True.
Like, you're actually like, you know, you sacrificed your life for my boy. Like, you know what? You got some rights. You have said it more eloquently than I did.
You got some rights. See, Westcliff, like, this is another aspect of Westcliff that I have to respect. Like, he will admit when he's wrong.
Yeah.
He will. And he will change his mind when provided with the facts. So, you know, good on him for that. Can't be said of every hero ever. Anywho, he brings them to his house. Annabelle wakes up, you know, after a few nights of recovery, and she goes to Simon, and Westcliff is there, and like Westcliff leave, and essentially Simon is like, you're never fucking done doing that again. You hear me?
I was ready to spank
Never
her,
fucking again.
pull her hair.
Right?
I was expecting it.
I mean, I feel I feel like Simon would have been a good spanker.
I feel like he is.
He has that energy about him.
He probably is, you know?
He probably is. Lisa.
Because he's very, like, he's very dominant.
He is.
And, like, case in point, the whole, 5 minutes until, he's inside her instance.
Right? He's delicious in that way. So you're right, S. I would have expected him to be like, I'm gonna fucking spank your ass raw next time you do that.
I mean, he kind of was on death's door at that point. He just came out of it, Came out of the woods.
Yeah, he wasn't in good form.
No.
His palm was fine, but I guess.
You can still do it.
All right. Should we get into the monster of the story? I'll be honest, I feel like we've talked about it.
We kind of have, but I also wanted to mention, I loved their love confession by the end of the book. And I loved how, I think Lisa Kleypas does a really good love confession.
Oh,
and, in this instance, I love Simon's when he said that, I wish I could love you a little bit less or something like that. Just I can live with it because he feels like the love he feels for her is so overwhelming and, it's all of him. He loves her with everything that he is. And I just loved how great it was put together. So...
Yeah, I feel like Simon Hunt is not a Lisa Kleypas hero that gets enough love.
No, and I
he's
don't know.
Forgotten.
I don't know why. I think he's a great character.
Not in my house.
Well,
not anymore.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's is here to save the day.
Yeah.
She said Simon Hunt writes, all right?
And also, Westcliff had got a piece of shrapnel in his arm, and then Annabelle takes it, and then she gives it to Daisy to also make a wish.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
They all made a wish at the beginning of the story, in this wishing well, that apparently all your wishes do come true if you just drop in a pin. So Westcliff is getting someone to wish for him. But can I also mention, I wouldn't have been mad if we got a book with the monster in the lake. In the well, because they said that he could reach up and take you and make you...
Yes, I noticed that.
Make you his lover in the under area.
Right?
I wanted
there's no book right now? There's no story, there's no... Then why mention it, Seth?
I was just saying I want it.
Well, now I want it too, and it's not there to pick up and read. And
I don't know if Lisa Kleypas would write that.
I'm writing a strongly worded letter as we speak.
You do that.
Send it with the pigeon.
So, all right, no monsters to talk about, really. I've mentioned mine. I had Annabelle's prejudices against Simon's background and family. I had Simon's working class background and how he doesn't fit anywhere. I had Annabelle having to truly consider selling her body and then realizing that her mom had to do it for years. And then I had Simon's arrogance and lack of empathy towards Annabelle's situation as a woman, kind of forcing her into a corner where she doesn't have a choice but to accept a dishonorable offer from him in a way.
I basically just had toxicity in the ton, which we've already talked about at length. I also had a lack or maybe absence of communication between Simon and Annabelle once they've gotten married. I feel like Simon strongly believes she only married him because of the money he has, and I feel like that's just something they keep having to I guess they think about as characters, and he keeps making little comments about you married me for my money and I don't know all of that stuff, and he just makes comments about his worth being only about the money in this relationship, and obviously she isn't comfortable enough with the relationship for her to be actually no, I love you, and that wasn't really dealt with obviously until the end, and he almost dies, but just the idea that that's all he thought he was worth in this relationship was really sad.
Maybe I'll sound like a gold digger, but what's wrong about marrying for money? It's a tough world out there, okay?
Because I think it's
it should be part of it. It should be a part of it.
Yeah, but I also feel it was known in Simon's case that he kind of caught feels with her 2 years ago. So I feel for him, he went in there with his emotions, on his sleeve. Okay, did you have any monsters?
I was going to look for one for Simon, but I decided that he has no monsters. He's perfect the way he is. And that's
He's
that.
too perfect.
I love that Seth and I have been insufferable about these books for years, and now S has joined the club, and she's like, Simon Hunt, he's perfect, cannot do any wrong.
A++ for Simon Hunt. I'm so happy. And I'm also happy that Annabelle got, she found a man that met her requirements. He has all of his teeth. And, I'm happy for her.
Do we get into Seth's most dreaded part?
No, we're done. We're done.
Episode? No,
we're
not done. Seth.
That has been the
done.
episode.
Do you have your list ready, Seth?
Let's rate some characters, shall we? For the pain.
Who's going fast?
I can go. Men or women?
Whoever you want to start with.
Let's start with guys for once. Okay, so in third place, Gideon. In second place, Simon Hunt. And in first place, it's McKenna for me. It has to be.
That's the same for me as well. It's Gideon, Simon, and then McKenna in top spot.
All right, S.
For me, it would be
Simon Hunt, and
Simon Hunt. Yeah. No, it would be Gideon, McKenna, and then Simon.
Whoa.
Interesting. You put Gideon first last week.
We're flipping it all around.
We're flipping it around. Okay.
There's gonna be a lot of that.
As for the women, let me just. Okay. I think I would go. This is hard actually because we don't know Olivia much, or as much, but I do like. I like her. I was gonna say I like her strong will. Like she was like, Gideon, fix yourself up, man. I'm not. Being with
That's
you.
true.
But at the same time, like Annabelle was kind of ready to do anything for her family. But I think it's Annabelle, Olivia, Aline.
I'm just gonna go with Olivia, Annabelle, and then Aline. Only because I liked Olivia's character, but for some reason I feel like Annabelle's growth as a character was more like prominent. I think that's due in part to Olivia not having a large part in the book. So that's it.
I think for me it's gonna be Annabelle, Olivia, and then Aline.
So same as me. Yeah. Okay. All right.
You're
See,
doing
it
good.
wasn't so bad.
It's gonna be hard once you get to like book 2 and 3. And even 4. I loved Matthew.
So, if you want to let us know how you would rank the Wallflower characters, feel free to reach us online. We are on Twitter, the RTM Pod, and also on Instagram at Romancing the Monsters Podcast. You can also email us if you want to at romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com. We're also on TikTok at Romancing the Monsters Pod and on Google. We are on Google, I guess, if you want to Google us. But we are also on YouTube. If you just search Romancing the Monsters Podcast, you should be able to find us. And if you want to find me specifically, I am also on both Twitter and Instagram at Foes and Lovers.
And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at ButThisBook.
And you can find me, Seth, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes. And again, a quick reminder, if you want to leave us a rating or review, please feel free to do that on any podcast platform. It would mean the world to us.
And there you go. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week.
Bye.